All right. Hello, everyone. Just doing a quick mic check. Let me know how that sounds. So, hi. Who's all here? Griffin Hammond, great friends, and probably just my wife and my mom, other than him. So it sounds like my audio is coming in just on, I don't know, maybe my left channel. I apologize for that. Just deal with it. All right. So, hey, everyone. Welcome to Droy Media. Coming at you live today from Droy Media Studios, aka my spare bedroom. And what I want this video to be is a Q&A about freelancing. So any questions you might have for me about freelancing or video production for that matter, please ask away. I've got a bunch that I have, solicited from other people around the internet, peers, clients, and other people in the industry. So I will post some of those and answer some of those as well. But if you have any questions for me live right here, ask those and I will try to get to them. And depending on who is all here, I am not the only person with freelance experience that looks like they're in the crowd. So if anyone else has some insight or opinions or experience doing any of this stuff, feel free to chime in. Hey, all right. Tyler Kern, hey, how are you? Ooh, Griffin and Nate's Film Tutorials. Hey guys, how's it going? All right. And my wife, Jordan Gobig, the lovely Jordan Gobig with a kiss face, watching from downstairs, right? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump on in. Feel free to ask questions or let me know if I'm talking too fast or if you want some clarification on anything. Happy to do that. And I'm going to take those off so that doesn't interfere with my microphone right here. So, let's see here. All right, question number one. Why'd you make the change from full-time to freelance? Also, what was your risk tolerance at the time, as in, screw it, I am quitting, or I am scared out of my freaking mind? Now, great question. I would say that I made the change from freelance or from full-time to freelance because I had been in a position for about 7.5 years, and I really couldn't go any higher in that job. And I had been doing freelance on the side for over a decade, and it was just becoming a bigger part of my life. I was, having to take vacation days off and stay up nights and work on weekends and stuff. And it just seemed like a really, really good time to do it. And I will give a huge shout out to my wife, who encouraged me and supported me throughout that. And without a support system like that, I don't know if I would have made that leap. And my risk tolerance at the time was I didn't really have a screw it, I'm quitting. I just felt like I needed a change in my career. And I was absolutely scared out of my freaking mind. I still am every day that I wake up as a freelancer. I think that if you are a normal human being, you have a good amount of, fear about freelancing, being your own boss. So, yeah, great question. Let's see here. What was the start like? The start was scary. There's a lot of unknowns, and one of the things that I hope to do with this video and with all of my YouTube stuff in general is to help clarify some of these murky things that that you might want to know about freelancing. There was not a lot of resources out there when I first started, and honestly, I don't think there are as many resources as there should be for people interested in freelancing. And that's one of the things that I really want to help do, is to help shed some light on this industry and how it's approachable. It's totally a career that you can do, and it's really great, honestly. And if you're anything like me, you didn't even know that I'm from a small town. I didn't even know freelance video production was a thing until I got into college. And once I found out, I loved it and never looked back. All right. Okay. So, question number 3. How'd you get your feet wet, so to say? And what was the first project that you undertook? So, I first started freelancing in college when I was working at TV10 at Illinois State University. and with Griffin is still here, part of that. Tyler Kern, I believe you were a TV tenor as well. And if you're a journalist in the Midwest, you probably work with or know someone that graduated from Illinois State University and was part of the TV 10 program. It's an award-winning television program. So while I was there, I realized that freelance video production could be a viable career or something that I was really interested in doing. So I started picking up jobs as like production assistants. Anytime a production would come into town or filming basketball games, I got my hand on a camera every chance I got. And then I spent nights and weekends in the basement of our TV studio learning and teaching myself Avid, how to edit with a nonlinear editor, which I think has served me well. Now I edit entirely on Adobe Premiere, but at the time I was self-taught on Avid. Actually, I learned how to edit tape to tape, which may or may not tell you how old I am. And the first project was the second part of that question. Oh, the first project that I undertook was the first one that I remember undertaking was for an insurance company out of Chicago. This is the first like real legit paid one that I had. And I was working with my buddy Pat, who, if you have watched anything on our channel before, he was in our like one episode podcast that I did, if you can even call it that. And Pat's been doing freelance in Chicago for about 10 years. And a great buddy of mine, also from the TV 10 program, and we got hired to make a promotional video for the sales department or sales team of this insurance company. And it was great. We lugged all of our super old gear that we had inherited or bought off eBay, up to the 30th floor of this high rise in Chicago, and filmed the crap out of it. And ever since then, been doing freelance. So, hey, is this thing working? Everyone doing all right? Maybe I'm just really boring. I don't know. All right, next question. All right, and if this has like a little U down at the bottom here, you can see those are questions I solicited from Reddit. So, just left my job of 6 years to go freelance. Any tips for getting started out? I've done loads of camera work and editing, but literally terrified and unsure of what to do to get started. Well, I think that my tips for starting out are do as many loads of camera work as you possibly can and make connections. I think something that people overlook when they're first starting out is that they need to get a portfolio done or they need to do some projects for free, which is very true. I think that you should probably undertake some free or very low budget projects to get your feet wet if you haven't done a lot of that. But that is a really, really good time to figure out how to navigate the client aspect of being a freelancer, which is something that you don't really learn. You just know that there's a thing called clients and that you need them to make money. And no one teaches you how to interact with them, how to ask for more money, how to navigate their budgets, how to navigate their needs and wants as fellow business owners. Most of them are. And I think that that's a really, really good way to learn all of that, is just to do some things early on, whether it's for friends or some local nonprofits. Do them, on a level that's not going to get you into trouble. So don't take a $5,000 gig right away. That's great. But just make sure you can deliver. If you're doing something for free for a nonprofit, they're probably just going to be really grateful that someone's interested enough in doing work for them. Okay, hey, first question from the audience. All right. Griffin Hammond, dear friend, Griffin Hammond, go check out his YouTube channel. He's got all sorts of stuff over there. I don't know what he's doing around my YouTube channel on a Thursday night asking me questions. But Griffin says, Nicholas in Oregon has a client that's willing to pay for travel, gear, and compensate him to produce a full-length one-man band documentary. He's wondering what he should charge. So first of all, would you even take on a full-length film for a client? How many months could that take? And how would you figure out what to charge the client? I probably would take on a full-length film for a client, but I think the main thing that you would have to do going into it is set realistic expectations for everyone involved, and look at it. Looking at it monetarily, if you're taking this on for the client, are you taking on a 40-hour-a-week position with them for 6 months, 3 months, a year, and then figuring out what you need to make for that. So if you're only making $12,000, you likely cannot do that for an entire year, 40 hours a week. You're going to have to supplement that with other projects. So figuring out what their budget is, what they're comfortable with, and what their deadlines or timeline is, because they might need this in a couple of months. And in that case, you may or may not be able to finish it by yourself. I would consider hiring on maybe an assistant to at least help carry gear around or help with some of the production. Someone to maybe an assistant editor to start logging footage and editing stuff early on. And how many months that could take? Honestly, it could take, I don't know, 3 months to a year, maybe longer even. It really just kind of depends on the client and what their timelines are. Really, I mean, there's no set time that a documentary will take. Let me know if you guys are seeing me and hearing me okay. I'm getting a gnarly stream health warning from YouTube. And then what to charge for that? Really just make sure that you are making enough money to survive. This could be a really good opportunity to make money, but also consider that at the end of the day, it might be more beneficial for you to put that money back into the project in terms of hiring like an assistant editor or a production assistant, or getting some better gear up front to help you, be a more efficient shooter when you are out there in the field producing. Because if you are a one-man band, the last thing you want is gear stuff going wrong. You need to be efficient. You need to have all your stuff readily available. You need to be able to carry it. You can't have 4 or 5 or 6 bags with gear, trying to lug that through like a jungle or a foreign city, or even just a rural area like a farm or a field. Here in the Midwest, it's tough to lug anything through. So there's a lot of things to consider there. Shameless plug, if you're interested in finding out what to charge, you can watch my cost of doing business, what to charge as a freelancer video. You can find that elsewhere on my channel. Griffin, great question. I hope that I answered that okay. Let me know if you need any clarification or follow-up on that. And thank you for asking that question. All right, let's see here. All right. Let's see. Oh, my wife says she can hear me. And Griffin, you're very welcome for that insight. Always happy to help, my friend. Okay. As I said, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask those. Or if you've got any experience doing one-man band documentary filmmaking, feel free to chime in. So another question here. How do you find clients? Excuse me. Well, I find clients by shamelessly self-promoting myself and my business every chance I get. I have joined like the Chamber of Commerce. I go to networking events, and I try to, a lot of times, be as visible locally as I can. So, if I am interested in having a local mom and pop bakery be a client of mine, if they don't know who I am, there's a lot less likely of a chance that they're going to hire me. So I might go browse their bakery once a week or try to buy some of their stuff. And this will also give you a chance to not only get to know them, but to see what their business is about. If you enjoy it, they're going to probably be a good client because you're going to be excited about producing a video for them. And really from there, seeking other people out. So finding other people in the community, connecting with them, making sure that they know that you do video production or photography or whatever your freelance niche is. If you're a designer or anything like that, just making sure that people know that that's what you do. So when that term comes up, so when the term video production comes up in my town, I want people to think of me and call me. And I find clients by having had clients, but also telling people that that's what I do on a daily basis, and getting out there and being in the community. And you might be able to find clients through social media, but I have yet to do that. So, I believe that you need to get out there and meet these people face to face. But great question. Okay, let's see here. What were the first steps that you took in order to gain the first few clients? As I kind of mentioned earlier, doing something for free or low budget is really important. Not only so you can see how freelancing works and how it's going to work. I mean, you're going to be your own boss, so you're going to be in charge of how motivated you are to get this project done. And then you're also going to be in charge of navigating the client relationship. You're going to be in charge of navigating their expectations and educating them most likely on what you can and can't provide, how video stuff works. A lot of times clients, they just don't know how like a commercial is produced, and it's up to you to be able to talk to them about that. And let's see here. In getting those first few clients, doing stuff for free is a really good way to do that. They will not only respect you, I believe, as a freelancer, but it'll also give you a learning experience on finding clients, talking with people, getting to know them, and getting out there. So I know when I was in college, we used to have to produce commercials for local like nonprofits in town. We produce them as 30-second promos to air during our live daily newscasts at TV10. And that was a really good foray into navigating that relationship for me. So I would have to approach the zoo and say, hey, I want to make a 30-second promo for you. It's not going to cost you anything. You're just going to have to help me coordinate, getting the otters on camera and getting behind the scenes with some of this stuff. And that's really how I started finding clients. You just need to be able to approach those people and I don't want to say educate, but let them know what you can offer in terms of video production. So saying that you can produce a video for them is great, but it's better to go in there with some sort of attainable goal. So, finding out what they want and then making sure that you can relate video or that video can fit into that goal somehow in a tangible way. All right. What's been an effective way to get clients? An effective way to get clients is, having very satisfied clients already, honestly. I've got a client here in town, and honest to God, he probably gets me like 10% of my business by passing along my name. I was actually working all day today on a project that he passed my name along for and I got. And really that is the best way to get clients, is by having happy clients that you can, or that will kind of go to bat for you and pass your name along. If they're happy, they're very, very likely going to pass your name along when someone says, hey, I saw your video online. Who did that for you? And then your name comes up, you get a call, and then you get another client. And likely that person will be a repeat client as well. All right. Everyone's still doing all right out there? Okay. Another online question. Even though I've done lots of freelancing stuff for years, I still find it hard to say no when clients come from my friends. Any advice on that? Yeah, you just really have to be tough and say no. I think I had to say no to some family members one time when it came to filming a wedding, and it really stinks. You feel like you're letting those people down. But at the end of the day, if you want to run a business, you need to make sure that you are making money, and you can't do everything for free. If you're going to do something for a friend, make sure that it just fits into your schedule, and make sure that they know that. Make sure that you're not just saying no because you're a grump and you like have to get paid. I mean, it could just be that you're too busy with other work to do that. And I have to turn down people every once in a while, and it's not great. I have to turn down paying clients sometimes. And it's not something I want to do, but I really just think you have to stick with your guns and just say no, be strict about it. And then realize that if the friendship is really there, if it's like a really good friendship, you're not going to lose a friend over not being able to make a video for them one time. And if they're asking you like every week, they're probably not a great friend, honestly. Good. All right. Let's see here. Another question from my buddy Griffin. Do you do weddings? Would you recommend it as a way into freelance? I do weddings. I don't advertise that I do. I do them very rarely. And there's no real reason for that. It's just that they're not, I like doing them. I think they're great. And I just don't get a lot of requests for them, honestly. And maybe if I advertised for that, I would do it. I recently edited a wedding for my buddy Pat. And then I'm doing some very fun, very cool engagement photos for a couple friend of mine in town that just got engaged, and hopefully we'll actually talk more about that in another video at a different time. But we're going to be recreating some like famous movie posters and stuff. Really excited about that. And but yeah, weddings are a great way to get into freelance. A lot of times, weddings or couples, I mean, don't have a ton of money to spend, so they can be a really good opportunity for someone just starting out to navigate that client relationship, make some money, figure out what it's like under extreme pressure to produce a video on the day of a wedding. And yeah, I mean, really, there's no shortage of weddings. People are getting married constantly. And the people I know that do wedding videography or wedding photography, they're busy, 48 weekends out of the year. So there's clearly a market for it. And I think it can be a really good way for you to get involved in freelance video production. And Totally Creative Video, Tyler says, I'm a walking advertisement. I wear my TKV shirt, have car magnets on both vehicles, hand out business cards to everyone like leaving a card with an overly generous tip at a restaurant or a coffee shop. Tyler, that's a great idea. I have not left my card with like a overly generous tip, but I do try to make a point to talk with like every single person that I bump into that is at like a point of sale system or at the bar or restaurant or wherever I'm at. Even if it's at the farmer's market, because a lot of times if you bump into them a few times or they know who you are, that can spark a good conversation and can lead, and for me actually has led to freelance work by being out there. So I think it's a great idea, and maybe I'll have to leave my business card with a generous tip at some point. All right, let's see, another question here. How did I manage to get out of the crowded bottom of thousands of other freelancers trying to do what you wanted to do? In short, how did you stand out from the fierce competition in the beginning? This is a really, really good question, and I can't say for certain that I stood out from the competition, but one of the things that I tried to make a habit of doing was, when people were, let's say like watching football or doing something on Sundays, I would take that time to teach myself some sort of like new editing skill. So I had downloaded the student or free version of Avid, and I would try to, learn how to do certain kinds of cuts or learn, what certain transitions or even like keywords within a program meant, because I'd never been exposed to that. And taking even a couple hours out of every week of something that you might normally do, take that out and put that time and put that effort into working. And you'd be surprised at how much or how quickly that adds up to several like additional days every year that you are going to have over the competition. And that's one of the things that I did. I mean, I in college enjoyed going out as much as the next guy, but at some point you say, hey, you know what, I've been out 2 days this week. I'm going to take the next 2 days and I'm going to sit in a basement and learn about some editing, or I'm going to teach myself a new skill, or I'm going to go out there and I'm going to walk the town and try to get new clients. And just taking small amounts out of your time here and there can really make a big difference, and I think are a really good way to set you apart from the competition, because you're going to be seen as a hard worker. You're going to actually have more time to do work, and it's at a very little sacrifice to anything else that you're probably doing at this point in time. All right, anything else? Nope. All right. Question 10. All right. What has been your best source of business, and any tips on how to generate a solid referral pipeline? Great question. My best source of business has been happy clients, honestly. A really, really good client is going to go out of their way to talk about you or rehire you or pass your name along. And I think that's probably the best source of business for any freelancer, is having a happy client. So, if you've got a really good client, or someone who's like really well connected in town, maybe take an extra hour that night and get those photos done, or take a couple extra hours on like a Sunday afternoon and edit that video for them and get it done to them a day or even a few hours ahead of when you say you will. And that can be a really good job, or a really good way of standing out and letting them know that they are an important client to you, and that's going to go a long way in them thinking highly of you, passing your name along. And let's see here. I got a second part of that question, I feel like. Any tips on how to generate a solid referral pipeline? Again, making sure that you have happy clients is the absolute most important thing. They are going to help in a sense like crowdfund your career. So they are going to be the ones shouting your name on different corners in the street, and you can only be on one corner at one time. So the more people out talking about you, the better. And that is really going to be the way to generate a referral pipeline, is to have a client be a salesperson for you. All right. Do you have an Instagram portfolio? People discover your work through there and then inquire through Instagram direct messages. And if so, how do you go about consulting with them? So I do have an Instagram account, both the personal and professional one. And I wouldn't necessarily call it a portfolio, but I try to post a lot of stuff on there. And I think it is a great way, particularly with freelancers that do visual media like photography or design or video work. It's a phenomenal way to showcase some of your best work and show that you're working all the time, show that you are doing this stuff on a day-to-day basis. And so I showcase a lot of my stuff on there. If you go to like Instagram.com /storymedia, you'll see all of my stuff. And I think that any social media account is a really good way to promote yourself. So, I've got Twitter and Facebook and some others. And it's a great way to promote yourself. I don't use that as my sole means of promoting, though. I've got a website, just joymedia.com, that has a blog and a bunch of other portfolio stuff on it. I've got this YouTube channel. And I think that any of those avenues is a really good way to showcase your work. It just kind of depends on maybe what your freelance niche is. So if you are a freelance copywriter, you might not need an Instagram account. That might not be the best thing for you to have. It might be really cool for you to have like a Twitter account where you post snippets of some of your writing, or a Facebook account, and certainly like a blog or an online portfolio or website. But you might not need an Instagram account. And I have gotten messages from people via direct message on Instagram, but nothing has led to any positions or any gigs at this point. Okay, just did that question. Here we go. Here we go. I'm trying to get into the copywriting space, but finding interested clients who I can work for, even for free, is proving to be a challenge. Did you have a pre-existing portfolio that you show them, just so they have a better idea of what your style and approach is? Now, I can't speak directly to the copywriting freelance space, but I would guess that you would be able to find some people interested in those skills and services in your community if you reached out to some nonprofits or, places like churches, or really anything in town that you think might benefit from copywriting. Do some searches, look on social media and find who has decent text content or written content. They might not be a good source for it or a good source for a client, but if you find that someone has some typos or doesn't have a great website or whatever, they could probably benefit from having someone come in and write some copy for them. Find out someone who writes a lot of press releases, and search those out. Yes, I had a pre-existing portfolio that I showed people. So not one of the downsides, but I graduated college and YouTube was barely around. So when we sent out a portfolio to people, you had to burn it onto DVDs and then send someone. You had to pay $1.50 to send this DVD to someone to look at it, and they probably never did. I've probably got some old portfolios that are just coasters right now in someone's office. And but I do actually teach a portfolio building class at a university here in town, at Illinois State University. And I think that having a portfolio is one of the most important things that a freelancer can have. Demo reels, for those of you in the video or cinematography or filmmaking world, those are great, but you need to have a portfolio to show clients, potential clients particularly, how well-rounded you are, or maybe what you want to market towards. So if you want to do food photography, you're not going to get a job without showing people in your portfolio that you can do food photography. And websites are free, basically. You can get a WordPress website and set up a portfolio in a matter of minutes. And I think that is so, so important for freelancers. And unfortunately, I think it's really overlooked in a lot of ways. I don't think a lot of people put thought into having a portfolio. I think that they feel like having a flashy or sexy demo reel is better. And honestly, having a portfolio that people can see is a really good way to not only show clients what you can do, but it's also a good talking point. So if a client comes to you and says, hey, I want a video, I actually saw this one on your website that was this video, and you can go, oh yeah, here's how we made that, here's how much it cost, and it can help generate some conversation with them about what their project is and what they're looking for. Excuse me. All right. How's everyone doing out there? Any other questions from the audience? Great. Nothing right now. Okay, I got like 7 or 8 more of these. Do you keep track of your earnings through these projects? Absolutely. I keep track of every penny that comes into and leaves my bank account, my business bank account at least, well, and my personal one. But yeah, so what I normally do is I provide clients with a price quote that is pretty accurate. I usually try to overshoot by like an hour or 2 on the filming and the editing. That way, if there's any sort of issues or we run into anything, no one's upset that all of a sudden the project costs an extra $150. And I just keep track of all this stuff. I don't know if I have any of these notebooks around. But I normally will, if I'm out filming, I'll just make a couple of like little notes in a notebook as to how long I've been filming for. I will make some notes in on my phone or in a Google Drive spreadsheet or something, and then I add those up at the end of it, and and then that goes into a final invoice for the client. So yes, I do keep track of all my hours. I also keep track of a lot of hours that are like non-billable stuff, so things that I'm doing for my business I try to keep track of, so I can identify things that I can maybe improve on as far as being a business owner. So, do you keep track of time while working? Excuse me, got a little tickle in my throat. Yes, I do. So, someone had asked this on, I don't know, Reddit maybe, and I do keep track of time while working. I've never found an app that I really enjoyed. I've used several, and I mean time tracking apps. So I've used some there where you click start on your computer and then it'll track the time, and then when you're done editing that project, you click stop, and then it'll just populate an invoice, or it'll send whatever to the client or to your boss or your manager. And I've never really found those to be good, because the minute you forget to do it, then you have to go back in and enter all this stuff in, and that defeats the purpose of that app or of that software. So I've just never found one that I really liked, frankly. I'm sure there are some really good ones out there, and I think that the person who sent me this, what question was that? I think this person, if you look at the bottom of the screen, user Dozy from Reddit, I think they actually sent me their software to test out, and I've downloaded it. It looks really nice. I just have not had a chance to play around with it, but hopefully I'll get to that at some point in the next couple of months as I get into some editing projects. It's always a really good time to test out those apps and see how those work. But then I've got to have a phone app or something if I'm out in the field filming. Let's see here. Tyler from Totally Creative Video asks, do you ask for feedback or a review from your clients on your social media website? How many times following up with that request is too much? Like they say they will, but they still haven't yet. So Tyler, I'm gonna have to ask you a follow-up question on this. Do you mean feedback on my social media or website, or do I ask for feedback on a project via my social media or website? Let me know about that, and I'll happily answer that. Griffin says, hey, I got to run, but thanks for answering my questions. Great live Q&A. Thank you, Griffin. Miss you, buddy. Let's grab a adult beverage of some sort next time you're in town, and I hope things are well. Thank you for stopping by. Feedback, Tyler says, feedback from a project that you completed. I do. I normally will have feedback from a client via email or a phone call. I normally don't do it through my website just because it's a little clunky. There might be some really good ways to do that, but I just haven't found any of those out yet. Not opposed to it. I feel like email is a pretty good way to do it, and that way people can send me some feedback via their computer, where they're probably watching the thing anyway, and they can reference time codes in the YouTube video or whatever format I've provided them. that in. So great question, Tyler. And then how many times following up with that request is too much? Honestly, so you mean like if a client is, hold on, my light is flickering and driving me nuts. So you mean if a client is supposed to be giving you some feedback and they haven't yet, that's a total pain in the butt. I would normally just say something along the lines of like, it depends on how long it's been, but after maybe a couple of months, if the project has kind of come to a stalemate and you're waiting on the client, I have an email template that I kind of send out that will usually get people to moving, and it is just it's a, hey, I haven't heard from you in XYZ long. I'm guessing by your lack of communication that the project, the scope of the project has changed. Sorry to hear that. I'd love to complete it. Let me know when you have a chance to like sit down and talk about it, or if you want to, whatever, talk about it and complete it. In the meantime, here's an invoice for the completed work, or for the work completed to this point. And seeing that bill will usually get that moving again. It has yet to fail me. And Tyler, I will try to send you maybe a copy of that email or an email that I've sent to a client that works pretty well. And that is can't remember where I got that from. I got that as kind of a business tip from somebody. And yeah, it's worked out well for me. And happy to pass that information along. Because that is a huge pain in the butt, and you can't sit there and get paid to bankroll someone's project for 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 months. All right, let's see here. How do you stay sane? How do you stay sane working from home without anyone else around? Well, luckily for me, I've got 2 cats and a dog, all of which I'm surprised have not made an appearance yet in this video. I don't think any of them are around. Nope, surprisingly, no one here but me. So I make a point to try to get out and work from a coffee shop or work remotely from time to time. And I think that's probably the best way. There's a really funny comic from the Oatmeal where it shows the benefits of working from home, and you can do whatever you want. But then after like 3 months, you have like no social awareness. So you like show up to events wearing like sweatpants and like a mustard stained shirt, and that is like far too true. So you have to make the effort to get out. So on a day that maybe you want to go try to find some new clients or meet some new clients, or you've just got some editing to do, or you're just doing some writing, or you're working on a new blog post or something, go out and talk to someone. Go sit in a crowded social spot. Go sit in a coffee shop. Libraries are great. Malls can be great. They're a little weird now, but since they're all just like empty stores. But really anything with people around can be a good opportunity for you to at least get out of an empty room. Because I sit here in this empty room all the time and edit, and it does get really tedious, and you feel like you're just in like, a little jail cell of an office sometimes. So I have to make a point to get out and do that though. Otherwise, I know when I've been sitting in here too long, because when my wife gets home, I'll just blah, 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 blah at her for like 2 straight hours. And yeah, so that's how I stay sane. Getting out, going for a run is great. Seeing some sunlight. I can't tell you how pale I am half the year, even in the summer, because I sit inside all the time. So getting out, doing something active, maybe even watching an episode of TV, stay sane, read a little bit of a book, play a video game, anything like that works pretty well. All right. My wife, Jordan, go big, says, can I ask questions? Yes, you can, Jordan. Thank you. Smiley face. And then, are you working on any personal creative projects? Kind of, yeah. So I've got a bunch of editing to do right now. And those are creative projects. But personal projects, I've got actually a couple like fun, scripts written that I'd like to get produced. They'd be kind of my first foray into some narrative filmmaking, which I'd be really excited about. And then I've got another kind of funny cat video that Jordan has written for me that I just need to get a little bit more footage for and put together. And it's kind of like a weird nature documentary on our little kitten, Earhart, who she's been in some of our other videos. So yes, I do have some personal creative projects. Thank you for asking, and hopefully get to those within the next couple of months. Okay, all right. Great question, Jordan. And Thank you for making dinner. I can hear her downstairs if you guys can't. Sounds like she's making dinner right now. Let's see here. All right. As much as you love the freelancing lifestyle, any additional pain points that really irk you about the current process? Back to maybe finding a good way of tracking time. There's not a good way to track time right now. Pardon me. There's not a really good way to track time. One of the things that, I don't want to say it irks me, but great. One cat hair in my mouth during this whole video so far. I call that a lucky day. One of the things that really irks me, is how much educating clients I have to do, or educating clients I have to do. Yes. So a lot of times clients don't know what things cost, what timeline budgets are. When we're working on like testimonial videos and we have a half hour of a testimonial video, we probably need a similar amount of time to capture B-roll to put over that person talking for that project. And a lot of people don't really understand this, and it's just because they haven't experienced it before. It's like when I first started out freelancing, I didn't know a lot of this stuff, and they have probably never interacted with a client before, which is fine. I mean, a lot of people haven't. So that, I guess, kind of irks me. But it's more about just freelance in general, and I think that's it. And then another thing that's really grinding my gears right now is having a hybrid camera like a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, and someone will be like, hey, while we got you here, let's take some headshots, or while I got you here, why don't you just take some nighttime exterior shots or whatever, or just, hey, while we got you here, why don't you just film a little bit of stuff, and adding on to the project kind of adds or kind of irks me, and it's really not the end of the world. It's just petty freelance stuff that I'm complaining about. So great question. All right, just a few more questions here, folks, before I gotta go. If you have any more questions for anyone watching, leave those in the little comment section box, wherever that is. Is that over here? I think it's on that side for me. Happy to answer those, and for anyone watching after the fact, feel free to leave those down in the comments section below, and I'll try to get to those when I can. So, next question. I've been doing part-time freelancing for the last 5 years for marketing stuff. Recently, I'm considering to go full-time freelancing, but I'm afraid to lose track of the daily routine, the usual life order. How do you manage it? And do you have a weekly schedule for work, relationship, etc.? So this is a great question, and one of the things that most freelancers don't consider or don't really have a lot of knowledge of is that when you are running your own business, whether you fail or are able to do a ton of stuff, depends on what kind of sacrifices you're able to make. So I mean, you could be a phenomenal freelancer and just not spend any time, or not have relationships, or not get or not have a hobby outside of video production or photography or whatever you're doing. And so identifying or defining what you mean by daily routine is really important, probably the most important thing. So for me, waking up early enough to spend some time with my wife. Normally we wake up, we work out, she goes to work, I settle into work, and then I try to make a point to have lunch with her if I'm in town that day, or if we're in the same town that day rather. And then I do a bunch of work, and then I make some time to have dinner every night with her that I can. And there are some nights where I literally just cannot do it, but 5 days a week, or more than that, probably like 9 out of every 10 days I'm able to have dinner, because that sort of stuff's important to me. Being able to spend a little bit of time with my dog and cats is really important, just because I like them a lot and they're cute and relieve stress when you pet them. And so that kind of stuff's really important as a freelancer. You need to make sure that you're not burning out. But then it doesn't mean that you can't set aside time for getting your work done. So if you have a project, setting aside time from 9 to midnight every night, or even an extra hour from like 9 to 10 or 10 to 11 every night, can really help you still feel like you're getting all of the work done that you need to get done, but gives you windows of time that you can spend with the people that are important to you, or you can spend doing the things that are important to you. But I try to keep a fairly strict schedule in terms of when I wake up, when I go to bed. And I know that some other people Like my buddy Pat, who freelances up in Chicago, he stays up like all night editing and doing stuff. And I'll wake up at like 6 in the morning with texts from him from like 2 in the morning. And I'm sure he feels the same way when I send him a text at like 6 in the morning and he's not going to be up for like 4 more hours. So it's just different people have different kind of, what do we call it? Life orders or daily routines. So just identify what you mean by daily routine and stick to that. Identify a way to stick to it while still maintaining a freelance lifestyle or a freelance career. All right, a couple more questions here, folks. How do you stay focused through dry spells? This is a great question. And have I said that about every single question so far? Every one of these is a great question. I stay focused by trying to figure out something that maybe I haven't done before. So last winter, Illinois winters are horrible and they're gray. No one wants to make any video production or videos or anything like that or take photos of anything. So I typically just have a lot of editing. I don't have a lot of outside sort of projects. So I try to do something creative or new. So like last winter, I think I did like a beer spec video and a food spec video. And those were unpaid. I just was like, hey, I eat 3 meals a week. At the end of the week, I can have 15 plus meals and footage from those 15 plus meals to make a little food video. I'll do things like that, or I'll look through like old GoPro footage and find a way to combine a bunch of my GoPro faces. You know, when you turn your GoPro on and it's like getting the really unflattering, like up from under you face. So doing stuff like that, writing a new script for something that you're interested in doing, jotting down some ideas, maybe writing a new blog post. Being your own boss has a lot of benefits, and one of the hard parts is being able to navigate those dry spells, because you absolutely will have them as a freelancer. You know, just kind of depends on your market size. They might be a little longer than others. If you live in a big city, you might not have as many dry spells as someone in a market like my size or in even smaller markets. Great question. All right, folks, we got 2 more questions here. And then anything else you want to know, feel free to ask, please. All right, another question. I know I would be interested as a client to know what to have ready from conversation 1, how the client can best interact and drive the creative process, and what real expectations for fees are. Now, this question comes from my buddy Steve Barkis. He is a good friend of mine and a former coworker. And Steve, it's a great question. Let's see here. I'm going to break this down into a couple parts. Ready from conversation 1. One of the biggest things is to know what your goals are. So if you want, for me, when a client approaches me and wants photos or videos done, I want to know what that goal is, because we're going to want to work backwards from whatever that goal is. If someone comes to me and says, hey, I want a video, and I go, great, what kind of video, or what do you want to do with it? And they say, I don't know. I just heard that I should have a video. I mean, that's great, but I don't want to just produce a video for them and take their money and then have them be upset that it didn't meet some sort of goal that they had. So a really important thing to have prepared as a client when you're hiring out or looking for freelancers is, what do you want your goal to be? Coming to the freelancer with that information is so helpful. And if they are a good freelancer, they will be able to work backwards from there with you and identify key steps in getting us to that end goal. So when do we need to have stuff filmed by? Who do we need to have stuff filmed with? What logos do we have, or what logos do we need? And then when do you need this by in order to have a final version, a revised version, some weeks of revision in there, etc. So that's a really good question. And I think something that a lot of people freelancers don't realize is that clients are just as nervous about this stuff as you are starting out, especially if they've never dealt with freelancers before. And then how the client can best interact and drive the creative process. Knowing, or at least being aware of the fact that you're probably hiring this freelancer because they not only have the skill set and the camera gear, most likely, that you need, but that they have, in certain cases, they have years of creative experience. So, when I say to a client that, hey, instead of one 5-minute video, maybe we should make 5 1-minute videos. I'm not just saying that to try to make more videos. We're still making the same amount. I am using industry data that says that like a 5-minute video is not going to get watched unless you have a really captive audience. We want 5 1-minute videos instead, and then that way someone was way more likely to watch those 5. So allowing that creativity from the creative professional that you're hiring is always important. At least entertaining the idea, using it as part of a discussion. Don't just discredit it because it's not your dream or your vision for the video. And the same goes for freelancers, is that I'm not making my dream video. I'm making a video for you. So I want to do what you want to do, but I will step up and say things if I have a creative opinion or professional opinion on something. And then third part of this question, real expectations for fees. Freelancers need to make money. We run businesses. I know that when people see what some freelancers charge per hour, they're like, wow, you guys are just filthy rich. Some of them are. I certainly am not. But, I have insurance to pay. I have, cameras to buy. I have media to buy. I have backup hard drives. I have, I'm staring at tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment right now. All that I need to do my job. And there's all other sorts of things. I pay production assistants and other people to help me film. And there's all of these things that go into the overhead of running a business. So the expectations for fees are that if you're paying me $100 an hour to do stuff, I'm not just pocketing $100 an hour to do it, but I do need to make a livable wage, and I need to make a living doing this. So if someone approaches you and says, hey, I have $500 and I want this video. As a client, break that down and see how many hours it would take to do that realistically, and then probably double it. And then also see what that hourly rate would be for that client. So if you have $500 and you need 20 hours of work, what does that work out per hour? And is that a livable wage for that person to do just that amount of work for you? And if not, you probably need to rethink either the budget or the project. But fees are kind of a tricky area to get people into. All right. Tyler says, biggest challenge for me starting out was insurance and tax season. I've taken steps to plan for this, but it's definitely my biggest con as a freelancer self-employed videographer. My thoughts. I pay a very good fee to a very good accountant, and it is worth every penny. I don't have to think about it now. They send me an email that I log on to, and I download my Illinois taxes and my federal taxes every quarter. I print that out, I write them a check, and I send it in. They overestimate for me, so at the end of the year, I'm likely not hit with some sort of exorbitant fee. And it's Tyler, it is so much easier to pay quarterly if you haven't started doing that already, than trying to pay like $6,000 or $10,000 or $12,000 at the end of the year, or in April when taxes are due. Instead, paying a couple $1,000s here and there throughout the year is so much easier and so much more. It's way nicer on your bank account when you don't just see a $12,000 hit at the end of the tax season, and it helps you manage your money a little bit better in that way. Tyler, great question. I'm hoping to maybe do a video on taxes. Maybe I'll save that for tax time this next year, but that's a question I get a lot of. And then insurance, I go through an insurance company here in my town, and then I don't know, they like source it out through Cleveland or whatever. But it's like $750 a year maybe. And I have like a $2 million coverage off in case like I have a C-stand knock somebody in the head and put them in a coma. And then I have all of my gear insured, because one of the things that I believe homeowners insurance does not do, it does not cover my gear if I'm out somewhere else. And then I've got multiple state coverages. I will find that if I'm filming at a concert venue, they will require the concert venue to be the secondary insured. So when I filmed at the House of Blues last year, I had to prove to them that the money wouldn't go to me if I bumped into someone. It would like be part of the House of Blues because they were the ones whose venue we were at. And I can just call up this company and say, hey, I need someone to be a secondary insured person on my plan just for the night or just for this like week-long period. And from what I recall, there's no additional cost. And the peace of mind for that is well worth it also. And for both of those things, for, not paying taxes, but paying for someone to do your taxes for you, and that insurance, less than $2,000 a year total between the two of them. well worth it, and in terms of peace of mind that you get with that sort of stuff. All right. Let's see. Great question, Tyler. Hope I answered that question too, by the way. Let's see here. And then my friend Claire Benjamin, she wanted to know, what would it take for you to go back to working for an employer? Now, Claire, wonderful question. Not one that I get asked a lot. And I would say it would have to be a really good culture, a really good opportunity for me, or a really good paycheck, or some combination thereof. I have been approached by people for full-time positions since I started freelancing, and none of them have really worked out. But I would be open to, I'd be open to it at some point. I just really haven't, and nothing has come my way that I just go, I really need that job. I really want that position to be the one that I have. Like I said, I'm open to it. It just hasn't happened. And it would just have to be a really good opportunity, something that I'm not going to get, while I'm out freelancing. So, now those are all the questions I have, this evening, and we're hitting just about an hour right now. I really, really appreciate anyone and everyone that stopped by, anyone that's watching this after the fact. Thank you so very much. If you guys were interested in any of this, please feel free to reach out via social media and ask me questions at any point in time. I'll try to get back to those, or back to you on those as soon as I can. And depending on the amount of questions I get, I might try to do another video like this. If you liked it, click like. If you're interested in more stuff like this, click subscribe. Both of those buttons are down below. I really appreciate you stopping by and taking the time out of your Thursday night to watch this video. If you guys have any other questions for me or want to know anything else, just leave those in the comment section below, or come pester me over at droidmedia.com, or find me on any of the really cool social medias. Thank you all very much, and I will see you next time.